I mean, we can see how like this trauma and this false spirituality and all these things can lead women into these places. So I want to talk about that a little bit more, and just the common threads that you've seen having been around, masses of women who are in these places. And just let us know, like, is there any kind of common thread that you have noticed that leads women into this line of work?
Well, would definitely say abuse, right? I mean, the majority of these women and young girls have been abused and been through some sort of trauma as children. And I mean, I know it was for me like it didn't feel like anything was off, right? It wasn't like, oh,
Mm.
this is something wrong to do. I never felt that way. And so when you're growing up and you're in dysfunctional environments, we tend to identify with dysfunction. And so we are going to then continue to get ourselves into more dysfunctional situations.
Yeah. That's so true. I always say that as well because I have an abuse background, child abuse, and I describe it as like when you've been abused, your code red alarms have been so desensitized that you don't realize when it slash your conscience slash God's voice is telling you, hey, this isn't good because that voice has been so suppressed over time, that you end up doing these things that are terrible for your soul and you don't really realize because you've been so used to numbing that voice for so long.
Yeah, and there is this point where it's so familiar to you. And so it's at a conscious level, you probably think, and I know at least for speaking for myself, like, I don't want to do this. What am I doing? What am I thinking? But there was also a part of me that was drawn to it because I grew up seeing it. I was
Mm.
hypersexualized, right? And so it becomes so familiar. And then there is a level of normalizing this, like, it's okay, right? It's not illegal. You can
Mhm.
do this, like, it's all right. Like, you work, you put on the show and you go home. And so there is that piece of, it's almost like it becomes your identity. And so there is a sense of safety, and it's false safety. It's more just being familiar with that. And yeah, so I agree with that 100%. Like, this common thread of abuse, that sadly.
Mhm. One of the questions I was gonna ask, is there any way to prevent this? And I think some of it is, like, the upbringing of the child in the home, but some of these things, can you prevent that when they're being sex trafficked from another country? Like, what can we do?
I think making sure they have all the resources and the training and the knowledge to know their rights, to know what is trafficking, what is illegal, what is legal work here in the United States, and what is exploitation. I think people don't
Mm.
they don't know if they're coming here and they think, "Oh, this is legal. This is just what work is. I just have to obey this employer." They don't have the knowledge, and traffickers are not telling them what is exploitation and what's not. So just someone giving them the knowledge and the resources so that they're aware would be
Mm.
helpful.
Okay, that's good.
Prayer. I would say prayer. We need Jesus. That's what people need. I mean, the principalities that govern the sex industry are, I mean, as we know, it is wicked, it is evil, and it's like we need an army to take that down. And
Yeah.
so, it's like we need more people like us who are willing to get out there and talk about the things and talk about the realities of what's going on in this world and the evil that is there. I mean, prayer. I mean, we've seen strip clubs shut down. I know Paige has too. Like, we've seen them shut down. And so pray for these places to get shut down. Pray for the Lord to make a way for these women to get out. And we have to pray over family. It all
Mhm.
starts in the home. And we have to pray for godly men to be raised up and lead
Mhm.
our homes. I mean, Jesus has to be at the center of everything. That is the only way to change anything in this world is
Yeah.
is through him.
Yeah, I definitely
Okay.
think it's going to start in the home. And if there isn't a father present, then to teach your child that God is the father to the fatherless. And for a young girl, knowing that her identity is solely in Christ and Christ alone. I think with today's culture, we have OnlyFans, right? We have such easy access to pornography. We have, a lot of these things now are legal, 18 and over, right? Strip clubs,
Mhm.
pornography, OnlyFans. And it continues to progressively grow more dark, right? And
Yeah.
so I think that just raising the awareness, I think even of the negative implications that it has on someone. I think about these young college girls that they're like, oh, this is an easy way to uh, pay for my tuition, right? Like, uh,
Mhm.
just the acceptance of it and like the approval of it, right? Is
Yeah.
like this is saying it's a message of like this is okay, it's your life, you're not harming anyone, but people have no idea down the road, like a lot of them end up suicidal. A lot of them end up turning to drugs because they can't do this anymore. Like, and going down those paths are really really hard to come out from. No one is too far gone that God can't reach them, but do we really want that to be our story when we don't have to, when we can make a different choice? And I think for some of these women that end up there, that's the really hard part too, is like they really feel they have no other options. So
Mhm.
I think part of preventing it is instilling this hope in our young women. You have options. It's
Yeah.
your choice, right? Like you have options, but really building the confidence and self-esteem and identity in the Lord. I think that's just such a huge, huge factor.